All right, let's go. All right. Let's go with Dan Hutchison's question first.
Dad, Dan Hutchison wanted to ask you, why has hitting gone out of the game?
You know, I knew this was going to happen. And yet, I ever noticed that the guys are getting hit head first into the boards?
Yeah.
Well, when we used to play, we used to take a peek to see who was coming. They don't even take a peek. And they go into the boards straight on, and they bang, and you get hurt, and that's where they get hurt.
Yeah. So what'd you think of that Cousins hit on Gabranson?
Well, I don't blame Branson for going back at him. That's what he got at the 5-minute major for, eh?
Yeah, he got 5 minutes. He got 2 5-10 a game and a game suspension. Yeah. So I thought it was a dirty hit on Cousins' part. There's no doubt in my mind
he meant to hurt him. I don't know if he meant to hurt him, but he put him head first into the boards. But even there's Branson. You know, if you should not go head kids, listen. When you're listening, don't go in without knowing who's coming. And if you don't know who's coming, then you shouldn't be playing.
Yeah, well, we went out scouting for like 17 years, almost, but even more than that, probably over 20 with the Ice Dogs. And you could start to see that coming into the game.
Oh, you could see it coming.
Yeah, like when we first went out, you know, in the late 1990s, you really didn't see the hits from behind because the kids were aware of it.
They were aware of what was going on.
Yeah, because you and I talked about this a little bit where... Like, Gabranson put himself in a bad position.
Sure he did. He was looking straight right into the boards.
And Cousins still should have got a 5-minute major. And then Kane from Edmonton really corked the guy from, I think it was Minnesota. But again, the guy was coming. You get a guy like Mitch Marner. Like, you're never going to get him in that position because he was always small.
He was always looking.
Because he was playing in one of the last guys in the era of playing where you could hit the way up.
That's right.
And he's a small guy. And he knew even back then how to protect himself.
And when he goes into the corner, he knows who he's going in the corner with.
Right, you're never going to hit him.
Yeah. Well, if you do it, it's by accident.
Yeah. So speaking of the Leafs, they won. First they had that crazy game. They were down 5-0 and came back and won 5-0. And then they whomped Pittsburgh last night. And, the guy that you said at the start of the season, you said is going to be their number one goalie, Jones, played great.
Tim, let's be honest. Be honest about the whole thing. You were the guy that said that, and I picked up on it. Martin Jones, he looks pretty good out there.
So, would you go back with him?
I would go back with him. I just keep playing him. Yeah. And till he loses.
So what happens if you see Keefe go back with Samsonov next game?
I would say that somebody's making the calls from upstairs. If you go back with somebody else after the shutout,
and they got outshot. They won 7-0 and got outshot.
Yeah, they won 7-0 and got outshot. He doesn't seem to get excited or anything like that. Let's hope. Let's see if he goes back with the same guy.
Okay, just with that, Dad. Justin from Facebook says, "Grapes, I'm a big time Leaf fan. You mentioned in a podcast that the Leafs play up to the level of their opponent. Good example was against the Blue Jackets. They turned it on in the third period and scored 5 goals. As a Leaf fan, should I be worried about the way they're playing?"
Well, when you play against top clubs and you turn it on too, that's a good sign. To me, I like the way the Leafs are playing right now, and I picked the Leafs to go all the way. Don't forget now you have to pick a team too, but I picked the Leafs to go all the way. Well, I don't know. Let's say they'll get in the finals, but anyhow, looks like and they didn't play with the two big guns.
Yeah, Matthews was out. How about Knives? He got a Gordie Howe hat trick.
Yeah, Gordie Howe did it in one period.
Right, a pure Gordie Howe hat trick is you have to get.
You have to do it in one period.
Which is a fight, assist, and a goal in one period. So, Dad, we want to say hello to a loyal listener, David Burke, who's listening in Chengdu, China, which is in the northeast, I think it is.
What the heck's he doing up there?
I don't know. I should say, David, if you're listening, write us back and tell us what you're doing there.
Yeah, tell us what you're doing.
But, Cindy's off today, but we talked a little bit about how expensive the game was last time. And a couple of people wrote in. A Sabres fan from Twitter said, hockey is too expensive, especially for girls. $20,000 to $37,000 a season on Vancouver Island if you want to play rep.
Yeah.
Like $30,000. Beans from Twitter says, hockey too expensive, $7,000 in registration fees just to get a jersey on a kid to play under 12 AAA, plus tournaments and gear.
Yeah.
I mean, Hockey Canada has to do something about that.
Well, there's not much they can. I don't know what they can do. What do you think they should do, Tim?
I think they got to look and say, why does it cost $37,000 for a girl to play rep hockey in Vancouver Island, and then make a decision of how we can cut that down?
Yeah.
That's what they have to do. You know, I think there's a lot of people in the world of hockey that take advantage of the parents.
There's lots of superstars that have gone out there that have had used equipment on that's hardly broken in. and
Right. Well, I think more people are doing that, but again, just $7,000 registration fee.
I don't understand that.
You know, like I guess like where's that money going? So you figure $7,000, so you have 20 kids on a team.
Yeah.
That much you need for registration fees? Again, that's what Hockey Canada should be looking into, but they're too worried about other situations.
Yeah.
So on that note, Dad, a question from Don on Facebook says, Grapes, do you think my son should play hockey 12 months out of the year?
I would like to keep them hungry. And I remember when I was down at the Jock Harney Arena, I was putting on my equipment. I was so nervous. I was hungry. And that's the name of the game, is the hunger. If they want to play 3-on-3, I don't mind them playing 3-on-3.
Yeah. So you didn't play. You didn't play all summer.
No, I never played. Well, we couldn't. There was no ice. I remember I was going on alone, and I never forgot that. I was all alone. I was so nervous that I couldn't do on my skates.
Yeah, you and I have talked about this too. Is like when we would go out scouting, and let's say you have a son, and he's playing rep hockey, and you're hoping he wants to go to the OHL or it's the CHL or college or something, and you think you need him on the ice. You and I always said we never really started judging the kids till around this time.
Yeah,
because some of the kids that had the summer off were a little bit behind.
Yeah.
And some of the kids that were skating all summer had a bit of an advantage.
They did.
But by this time, everything equaled out.
Yeah, everything evened out. And it was funny to see kids starting off good, and they'd be just filling the nets and everything. And then when it get around Christmas time and like that, it would all even out.
And then you saw some kids that were kind of like, oh, they're all right. And then they hit their stride around Christmas.
Yeah.
So that's why when we were scouting, you always said to me, you says, you write the kids up and you take a note on them, but really don't judge them till around this time, because this is when everything started to equal out.
Yeah, everything equals out. And like you said, you can almost tell the kids that didn't skate all summer, and by Christmas time, everything evened out.
So, Dad, Spreads is now NorthStarsBet.com. It's still Canadian owned and still one of the best places to play in Canada. They have everything you're looking for: slots, live dealer, tables, sportsbook with built-in sports betting insights and analysis. Listeners who already have an account with Spreads, you don't have to do anything. Just sign in at NorthStarBets.com. And they have an exclusive offer for our listeners. If you sign up now or deposit with the promo Cherry, North Star Bets will match your first bet up to $100, and you'll get 100 bonuses on the big wheel, and then you'll get 10 extra bonuses. And this offer is limited in quantities and not available in Ontario. And Dad, you give your picks, and you're 3-0 right now, and you pick 3 underdogs.
Well, you pick the underdog, and as long as you get the points.
Yeah, the thing I think the one thing when you're picking them is you kind of look at the coaches, right? Because you pick St. Louis right after They changed the coach. They were an underdog. And then you picked last night, you took Florida over Edmonton because you knew Paul Maurice would be reading them the riot act after they got shut out 2 games in a row. And so you're doing pretty good. But so Dad, unfortunately, our buddy Craig Berube was fired by St. Louis.
And he won the Stanley Cup.
Yeah. He went from, they were in last place in the league, and he takes them and they win the Stanley Cup, and then...
Believe me, folks, it's not as easy as it looks. And all you have to do is take a look at Brenda Moore in Carolina, how he's aged.
I know, it's something. He's still looking good, but he's got a few more gray hairs. So, Dad, Drew Bannister now, he's coaching St. Louis.
Yes.
So he coached 6 years in the Ontario Hockey League. Yep. And then he coached 6 years in the AHL.
So he knows what's going on.
Knows what's going on. So you coached in the American Hockey League, and you were coaching AHL players. And then you got hired by Boston. Harry Sinden hired you, and now you went from American Hockey League players to coaching Bobby Orr and Phil Esposito and Johnny Busick and Gilly Gilbert. Like, what was what happened? How was that different?
I hate to say this, Tim. I was in the American Hockey League, and I was coach of the year in the American Hockey League. But where was I going to tell John Busick how to play the power play? I remember our very first meeting I said, okay, at the end, I said, John, take the power play at the end and work on the power play. And all the players looked at me. I said, what, I'm going to tell John Busick how to run the power play?
Yeah, so let's see. It was Johnny Busick.
It was John Busick.
Phil Esposito.
And Kenny Hodge,
all 50, 60, 70 goal scorers.
And
Bobby Orr, Carl Vadney on the point.
Yeah, I'm going to tell them how to play. And you know what? I couldn't coach those guys because they weren't hungry. They weren't hungry anymore. You have to have hungry hockey players. I still say the greatest motivator in hockey is hunger.
That's VintageTendy Magazine. It's a magazine for goalies, by goalies.
Beautiful pictures.
Beautiful pictures. The highest quality magazine you'll find out there. Not on hockey, just about anything. It's just unbelievable. Super high gloss finish. Unbelievable pictures. This issue has Clint Malarchuk and some great articles. You did one on Tretiak and Bobby Perreault, I think. And visit VintageTendyMagazine.com or visit their Facebook page, VintageTendy Magazine.
And a beautiful magazine.
And it's a great idea for if you got a goaltender in your life and you want to get him a gift, it's a good get him subscription. So, Dad, we got one from the Oilers. They were kind of on a roll, even though they lost last night. And this one's from Oilers Blue from Twitter. It says, Don, the Oilers are right back on track. I don't think they lost 2 in a row.
I don't know.
I don't know about that. But they're almost in a playoff spot. Do you think it was a change of coach, or did they just work our way out of an early slump?
I think it was a change in coach. And I think the coach has the right temperament for them. He doesn't seem to get too upset behind the bench. And I just think I think it's a coach.
Yeah, and you got to. Then Skinner started playing better.
Well, when the goaltenders play good, tell me a good coach, and I'll show you a good goalie. And I know that. I know that for a fact. I had 3 of them. I had 3 good ones: Ronnie Graham, Gilly Gilbert, and Jerry Cheevers, and they hated it. They hated the 3 of them, and. I'll go into that someday. I played them one.
Well, I'll just ask you that, Dad, because we got from Facebook. DJ Ray says, "Can you ask the big man, that's you, or Joe Biden, one or the other, on his thoughts of teams eventually moving to 3 keeper system, meaning 2 goalies on the day of the game and then 3 on the 23-man roster, just due to the schedules and playoffs? As in my opinion, it's too much for some keepers, and keepers would be good." So,
well, they hated it. The 3 of them hated it.
Well, you had 3 top goalies, though.
I went from 3 top goalies. We had to get rid of the one, and you know who the one?
Ron Graham, yeah.
Ron Graham. We got. You know who we traded him for? Ray Bourque.
Ray Bourque. Yeah.
Not bad. So anyhow, Harry was pretty good GM at the time. No, I did not like the 3 goaltenders because you had to get the 3 of them in. And I'm telling you.
You said the hard part was practice, right?
Oh, one guy be standing at the side and Jilly wouldn't come out. Jill Blair wouldn't come out. And I used to have to tell him to get in. And Cheevers, he loved it.
Yeah.
Because he didn't have to work as hard. But
like, could the goalies stay sharp?
No, well, they said pretty sharp. Yeah. I have to admit, but they were so good. I had 3 top goaltenders, top. I mean, I'm talking top, and I went to Hardy Astrom, and I remember the very first time I flipped the puck in from center ice, and he went to catch it, and it went in the net, and I said, "I come home to Rose. We won't be around here too long."
Well, I remember the first day you came back from training camp, first day of training camp, and you were all excited leaving. When you came back, you were a lot more somber after the first day, and so you showed a picture of the guys, right, to Mom, and Mom looked. She says, "Oh, what a good looking bunch of boys."
Yeah.
And she said, "That's right. I went from the lunch pail." Oh, I mean to say, the Bruins had a big thing on the weekend for the lunch pail.
Yes,
and
the coach was dressed
Jim
like
Montgomery.
me.
Yeah, dressed up like you. Didn't have quite the high collars you had.
Well, nobody has those.
But I'd like to thank the Bruins for that. That was really good, and they did a great thing. But you said, "Ma," you go, "Yes, I go from a good looking bunch of boys from the Bruins who were like Genghis Khan," and then you said, "You know, Tim," he goes, "we had a scrimmage today, and either we got 10 50-goal scorers on the team or we got the worst goalies in the league." And that's unfortunately what happened. But you were right. Ronnie Graham was so good that he got traded for a first-round pick.
Yeah, and first-round pick, and the first-round pick was Raymond Bourque.
Ray Bourque. But you could tell Gilbert and Cheevers weren't too happy with the whole
No, they weren't too happy about the whole thing, and one of them had to go. Imagine we would have had Park and
Bourque.
Yeah. Pretty tough to beat us then.
Yeah. So the Leafs might be in a little bit of that situation when Wall comes back. Because let's say, Jones keeps playing the way he is. He's 3-0. Got a shutout against a powerhouse team.
We will see if he's not in the next game. Who's calling the shots?
This is from Miles Shields. It says, "Who is Don's favorite defense partner in his playing days? I hear a lot about your good buddy dad, Daryl Sly."
Daryl Sly. I used to stand up at the red line, and they dump it in. And Daryl Sly, he could skate like the wind. And he'd go back and get it, and then be on the way out. If I happened to get back there and got the puck, I'd get back of the net. And I just had a knack of hitting him on the way out. Boy, could he ever skate. How would I say he lengthened my career by about 4 or 5 years. And he was dynamite. He could really skate.
I remember him. I remember he had no front teeth, eh? And he always seemed to be a guy that was always laughing and joking.
He was always happy. And
well, imagine what the money he'd be making today.
Oh.
Like he would be top 4 defenseman in the league now.
Yeah, he
easily.
He could skate unbelievable. The only guy I could say that you had a better skater than him were 2 guys who were Coffey and Bobby Orr.
Yeah, he was good. But he did have one thing he was really afraid of.
Oh,
Sorry, Daryl, tell this story, but it's funny.
Anyhow, he was afraid of frogs. I don't know why he was afraid of frogs, because he come from Collingwood, and there was a lot of frogs up there. Anyhow, he was afraid of frogs. And I remember I didn't go, but the guys went, and they got out in the swamp, and the police came, and
so they went out.
And he came in drinking, and he was in a room by himself, and he could hear plop, plop, and he turned on the light, and it was full of frogs.
So the guys put all the frogs in his room.
Oh, the guy let the frogs go in the place. And he come banging on my door, and he slept on the floor. I went the next day and caught all the frogs and put them in a pail. And you know what the funny thing about the whole thing is, the police, like, we got up early in the morning, and we were going to let them go in a lake. Police car followed us around everywhere we went. He knew we were up to something. Anyhow, he took off, and we let all the frogs go.
So that was in Rochester, but you also played with them in
Vancouver. We won the championship out there. They were in second spot, and Joe Crozier, who was the general manager coach, said, "What do we have to do to get into first spot. I'll never forget Jimmy McKinney. And he was supposed to be the next Bobby Orr, by the way.
Yeah, we should talk. We'll talk about Jimmy McKinney maybe next week.
Yeah, we'll talk about Jimmy McKinney. And Daryl tells him, get Don Cherry out here. Geez, I no more wanted to go there, and I knew we weren't going to make first spot. And but when we got into the playoffs, we turned it on. We won the championship. In fact, we were in Vancouver. We never lost a game in the playoffs the whole time.
Well, you had a good run with Daryl there, like with the last few years. Like,
I played with Daryl with 6 years.
Yeah, but like you won how many championships?
I'm trying to think now. We won 4 championships. The last 5 years I really played, I won 4 championships and 1 finals.
Well,
that's not too shabby.
Yeah, I do remember Daryl Sly. I remember you guys used to sit in the corner together. You were right against the wall.
Yeah, we were,
and he was right next to you.
You know, Daryl was a sharp guy, and his wife worked, and he lived on her money. She was a nurse, and he lived on her money, and he saved his money, and he bought the Blue Mountain. What do you?
I don't know if it was Dodge or Chrysler or something.
It was Dodge and Chrysler, and he bought that up there, and he became very rich and
had a nice place right on the water.
Right on the water. And God love him. He's been dead now for about 6 years. I sure miss him. I tell you that.